speak. I love your hair, by the way.
Thank you. I actually come into without mohawk or color.
What?
It has color as well.
Oh shoot! I didn't even know about the color.
And you talking about people, the guys with green hair? Remember this?
Yeah. You got the studious look. You look like someone who's very prepared for this interview, unlike me.
What's up, YouTube? It's Pop Tech. I'm here with Sean Chiplock.
Yes.
Yes. Voice actor from anime, Disney-Pixar, and from Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and get into the questions here.
Absolutely.
I know you hate this question, but what got you into voice acting?
The ironic thing is it was boredom that got me into a role of entertainment. In order to give you context before I jump all the way back, like I consider myself kind of like a activity shark, where like I have to keep moving once I start moving, and if I stop, then the fatigue sets in, and I get either like really tired or really antsy or really bored. The last time that I had that much free time to myself when COVID first hit is how I got involved with streaming, because I was sitting there after like a month of playing games going, this can't be the only thing that I'm doing, you know?
Yeah, you actually covered one of my next questions.
I mean, we'll get around to it as well. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I could be doing something better with my time, so I'll start streaming. The time after that, I had like 4 months of a dead period where I didn't have any new work coming in, so I did what most people do when they don't have anything to do, and I got a job at Disneyland California Adventure. So I went from having a little bit of free time to suddenly working a part-time job of like 35 hours a week at one of the busiest parks in the United States. And the only reason that stopped was because I had booked a lead role in an anime about 2 months into my probationary period. So it was really funny for me because I enjoyed the job, but I put in my 2 weeks notice 2 days after I got my final employment thing. They were like, all right, your period's done, you're an official employee. And I went, great, I'm leaving next month. So
to have you fun.
But so that's kind of what ties back is back in school I had a lot of things that I was decent at, but it wasn't really anything that like held my attention, held like that. I genuinely wanted to go to college, which everyone was pushing at the time, and said, I want to donate 4 years of my life to this, whether it was mathematics or science or history or something else. Just nothing stuck out to me like that. And I discovered voice acting randomly because I used to stay up super late to do like daily tasks on sites like Neopets and stuff like that. And through browsing websites, partially because of Adult Swim, which would always be on the TV behind me, I ended up visiting their website and I found this clip that had like a behind the scenes snippet of an actor performing. And that was the first time that I'd seen an actor talking, like just using their voice. There wasn't some special filter or modifier like you'd think of like Darth Vader or something like that. Just an actor talking using their own throat, their own lungs, at the same time that a character's lips were moving on the screen. And that's when it like finally clicked for me that the person was becoming the character, you know? It's so silly to think about in retrospect, because yeah, someone's got to provide that voice, but it wasn't until I saw it happening in real time that I realized it was a thing. And it's even funnier because when I was younger, my brother and I would dub the characters in our video games that we were playing. If we played like co-op games and we had like, because you think of stuff like Banjo-Kazooie or The Legend of Zelda where there was dialogue, there was text, and there were characters, but there were no voices, so we would provide them. So even then, I was doing voice acting without even knowing what it actually was. So after I discovered it, I'm like, clearly this is important to me. I enjoy this a lot. I'm passionate about it. And I feel like that passion is not only what keeps me in the career, but also has helped contribute to my success. Because I'm so passionate about it, I'm going to want to do a good job. And I'm going to want to entertain everyone else as much as it entertains me. And I'd like to think it's worked out for the better so far.
Yes. But what was your major when you was in college? What did you pick?
So I knew I didn't want to contribute or focus my entire curriculum on voice acting just in case it didn't work out. Because the school that I went to, Western Michigan University, they had a theater program, but it was one of those like you eat, sleep, use the bathroom, everything is theater, you know, and it takes up your entire academia, and I didn't want to go that hard into it. So I did film, video, and media studies as my major. It's not 3 separate majors. It's called film, video, and media studies, because I figured if I at least knew about the production industry, like what goes into making a movie, what goes into making a show like that, the audio production behind it, that I would be better prepared for where my role is in that industry. And then for my minors, I looked for things I was either interested in or things that I thought were relevant to what I was getting into. So I minored in Japanese. I know that seems very weeaboo, but I actually genuinely enjoyed Japanese culture, and I figured if I understand a lot of the references that are made in anime, then I won't be, the foreigner who pretends like they understand and completely misses the point. I had a second minor in psychology, and that was just both for business and for the career, because no matter what we do, we're always going to be working with other people. And so being able to be responsible as an adult, as a professional, could only help me in my career. And then I did have a third minor in journalism because I had enough room to fit in the credits for it, but towards the end of it, it was... my style of performance, my style of writing does not jive with what is supposed to be integral or ethical journalism. That just sounds like I'm doing fake news. Basically, it was very boring. It was very straightforward and very factual and very boring, and that didn't jive with me, so I backed out, which is funny now because you look at how a lot of news is posted nowadays, and whoo boy.
You always do it though.
Yeah, I don't regret what I did in college. I think it really helped me be well-rounded, and then anything that I didn't understand right off the bat, I was able to pick up along the way. So I would definitely recommend that anyone that wants to get into this career, or any career, can look into stuff like psychology, just because being able to work with people will open so many doors for you no matter what you do in life.
I agree with you. So what is your big three for the anime?
You said big three for anime? Oh boy. Let's see. I'm trying, because I know that there's the classics. There's stuff like Cowboy Bebop. There's stuff like Outlaw Star. I want to say one of the ones that personally for me was the most important was Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood. Yes. Both. I should say both series. And we can count it as one.
Yes. I'll count it as one.
Huh? Right. No, because I watched this very, very insightful video series on YouTube the other day that kind of broke down the character developments of the original Full Metal Alchemist versus Brotherhood. And even though the original Full Metal Alchemist doesn't follow the manga exactly, it almost goes on its own journey of... It becomes a focus on Edward Elric, on his development as a character, going from being immature to having to care about the people around him. Like, originally, he just wants to fix his life, and then he slowly develops into this person that understands all the problems going on in the world around him. Brotherhood still tells its own story, and it's still a great story, but it's a completely different story. It doesn't focus on that development of Edward Elric specifically, and I just think it's really cool that you have two different angles that you can look at. Very few comedic anime made me laugh as hard as Daily Lives of High School Boys. Like, that was the anime that made me realize I was a fan of skit-based comedy, where they approach a topic and they do their silly antics and then they move on to the next thing and there's not much continuity. Part of why it's my favorite is because it's one of the only times that the clown nose honk sound effect, that doing that was so perfectly timed that I lost it at that sound effect. It was so well done. And I know that there's other comedic anime out there as well. There's Chroma T High School. I've heard really good things about Mr. Osamatsu. I was cracking up watching some of the scenes for that as well. But Daily Lives was really what got me started on that road. If I had to pick a third one, this is hard, because there's a lot of really, really good ones. Man, you know what? Okay, there is a reason why it's one of the tops of all time, and it's Cowboy Bebop. The fact that I brought it up means that it's important to me. It's just a mix of everything, between the music, the soundtrack, the way that the scenes are told. Cowboy Bebop was one of those shows that wasn't afraid to talk through silence. Just those moments where you would have... I remember there being, camera cuts to scenery. The characters would finish talking, there would be a camera cut to some scenery and they're just staring up the sky and no one says a word before it goes on to the next scene. And that's something you might not see in some anime where it's listen, if the camera moves, someone has to be saying something. And the picturesque quality of Cowboy Bebop's production is just something that stays with you. It's so good. You
like the live action they did for it?
You know what? I feel like I shouldn't comment on it until I've seen all of it. But for example, well, one of the discourses that happened online was people complaining about Ed's introduction in the live action. And so I watched the introduction scene, and like I can see why people hate it, because like this weird live action face is all up in you, like talking into the camera. But as I watched the rest of the scene, I was like, oh well, Spike is passed out on the ground. I don't know if he was drunk or beaten up, but he's in bad shape. And people were like, that was so annoying. Why would they do that? And I'm like, okay, so what you're telling me is they put you in Spike's body for a second, had this person up in your face talking very weirdly and gesticulating, and you were frustrated and annoyed by that. Kind of like how Spike, the character, was frustrated and annoyed because he didn't want to be dealing with this character right now. And you don't understand why being able to empathize with the main character is not a good sign of connecting with the audience? Like, so, I don't know, maybe I'm the one in the wrong, but I feel like if a show is able to make me feel the way that the character feels from their point of view, that's good storytelling. So, I don't know, maybe I'm in the unpopular opinion crowd with that, but maybe I haven't seen the rest of the show and I just happen to disagree with a particularly good moment for an otherwise subpar production quality. Who knows?
Yeah. So we did talk about you gaming and streaming. So what got you, besides COVID, like what was the main reason getting you into it?
Well, I'd always been interested for a while because, like, so I'm a really, really big fan of dungeon crawling games, like Etrian Odyssey. I got really into Binding of Isaac. And with games like that, you can end up on, like, a tear, Like, if you have a really good Binding of Isaac run, you can end up with an insane amount of powers and just completely melting bosses. And there's that kind of guttural feeling of, man, I want to share this with somebody else. I wish someone else were seeing this right now. This is so fun. This is so cool. But the two things that were holding me back the whole time were that I didn't have the time, and I didn't know if I had the space, because I didn't know what kind of equipment you need for streaming, and a lot of the big streamers have, like, their entire rooms dedicated with a green screen and a ring light and everything else. I was like, I'm on the couch in my living room, what? So when COVID hit, now all of a sudden I had the time, and I went, okay, well, half of that is out of the way. I might as well see if I can make do with the space. Like, do I need a ring light? Do I need, what is the absolute mandatory stuff in order to record a game and have it streamed to people? And can I do that at appreciable quality? So when I found out the Elgato, like the thing that actually records it, isn't really that big, and you can use like a regular webcam like I have. Sure, it doesn't look fancy like some people, but I was able to stream, and with tech help from colleagues, I was able to stream at a decent bit rate. Like, because what was important was the game was clear. I didn't care if people could see me clear. The important thing is the game. But after that, the rest of it fell into place pretty easily. I've had to perform in front of people before. I've had to be personable. I know how to carry a conversation about things that I'm passionate about, as you might have been able to tell from this interview. And so I already kind of had the following from building my career. So affiliate was almost instant. And then I knew when I saw that I was getting between 40 to 50 people, I was like, okay, let's see if I can manage to hit partner. And it wasn't even so that I could make money. It was so that once I had the partner badge, I could stop caring about numbers. And as soon as it did, I stopped caring. But it ended up becoming its own thing because there were so many people that needed that kind of social contact during COVID, during the isolation period, and I saw it as an opportunity to kind of bridge the gap between the professional and the audience, because I've always tried to be very humble. I've tried to remind people I am not an idol of yours, I'm not better than you, I just happen to have a much more public-facing career than you might have, but I'm just a human being at the end of the day, and that was my way to just show people that I'm another normal person, and I enjoy gaming, and I want to talk to you guys, and I want to learn about your lives as well. So it has become its own sort of job. Like, I have very little free time to myself nowadays. But I feel like it's almost part of my calling or part of my branding at this point. Like, a lot of voice actors stream. I'm not trying to say I'm doing something spectacularly unique, but I feel like the what I offer as a streamer has contributed to what I offer as a voice actor. It gives people more reason to look forward to me. It gives people a reason to want to invite me to their events. It's something that I can embrace as a quality of mine rather than just an obligation that I have. Yeah. And I'll be honest, it's gotten me back into gaming to some degree. I can think of at least half a dozen games that I've played on stream that I would have never made the time for if it hadn't been part of my stream schedule. So I'm grateful to them for helping me either introduce or reintroduce me to stuff that I otherwise may have procrastinated for way too long.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take.
And you talking about how you interact with people. Like I actually recorded you interacting with fans when you doing autographs, and that was just pure. Like it was like you can just see how you was just naturally with everybody. You just laughing.
Yeah, it feeds back into the like autograph signings as well. Because what is it but just another stream where they happen to be in front of me rather than me away playing a game on camera and stuff like that. But even then, like I've had people that came up to signings that were like, "Hey, I checked out your stream for this," and I've recognized their username, and it's just one more way to build a human connection in an increasingly internet-connected world. So, I think it's pretty cool.
2 more questions, like you did in the panel. What advice do you have for people who want to get into voice acting?
Oh boy, we could make an entire interview just out of that. So generally, when it's on interviews, I try to keep concise and to the point. The first thing that I tell them is go to iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. That is like the most informative site I can think of on the web from someone who actually deserves to be talking about how to get into the industry. Well, because it's easy for, like, you get those pop-up sites that's like, use your voice to make money, join our workshop, and they're nobodies. They're absolute nobodies. But D. Bradley Baker is very much a somebody. So,
I was talking to him earlier about how I actually saw him when I was in New York.
Oh, shoot!
Yes, I went to New York Comic Con.
Okay.
And like he was going through all his characters he did, and he did. For me, the generational thing is like I remember him from Legends of Hidden Temple.
Yeah.
OMAC.
Yeah.
But my kids, they're younger. They remember him from Perry the Platypus.
Yeah.
And also from Bubble Bass from SpongeBob.
Yep.
And he was Old Man Jenkins.
Yep.
And now he got his new one out for Star Wars.
He's everything, man.
Everything.
I'm convinced at this point the only time or the only reason why a creature is not voiced by him is because he couldn't fit it into his schedule, and they just had to give it to somebody else. There are no booking creature voices. There's just being the backup for D. Bradley Baker. So he wrote that blog site, and I recommend that everyone read it front to back, because the more that you know about the industry before you're trying to get into it, the less you'll be surprised by, the more prepared you will be. I am a big proponent of the mantra that preparation plus opportunity equals success. I feel like a lot of my success isn't from things being handed to me, but me continuing to practice, continuing to work until that chance comes up. And sure, it's not a guarantee, but I'm one of the most prepared people in the room to take a shot at it.
There you go.
And so that I just feel like having that knowledge is really important. I also say it's important to join places like the voice acting club, start networking with your future colleagues, your future peers. Everyone talks about, I want to work for Bang Zoom, I want to work for Funimation, I want to work, do stuff for Crunchyroll, and that's good. That's fine. You want to make a connection with the established companies that are publishing most of the projects, but you also can't forget that those companies they haven't been here since the dawn of time. They existed, they came into existence at some point and started growing. There's going to be new companies that pop up. You can think of Sound Cadence Studios, Sentai Filmworks, stuff like that. So not only should you network with your peers who are later going to become your colleagues, your associates that you are part of a cast with, but you also want to get your foot in the door with these folks who want to become directors, who want to become engineers, who want to become the other parts of the industry that could later lead to additional work opportunities for you, in addition to the companies that already exist. So I think that's really important. And then the one that I think most people don't talk about, even though it's very much a part of the industry, is that, especially in an age of the internet and all the drama that surrounds it, you have to know when to pick your battles. And I say that both as someone who is a little fearful for younger generations that just post all of their information online or have these justice crusades. And I'm not referring to cancel culture is bad, but just what they are getting revved up about, what they are having arguments about. And I say to someone who has felt the repercussions of not picking their battles. There have been cases where I got into a tiff with people because I didn't like how they were acting, or I got into topics that I shouldn't have been involved in, and either because of the grudge that those people held or because of my own lack of education, it came back to bite me in the butt, and it cost me opportunities. And I think that one of the biggest risks to an actor in their career can be themselves. Just their inability to recognize that they have a public-facing career, one where their reputation matters as much as their quality of performance, and it is entirely possible to screw yourself out of a gig because you're not someone that the company wants to work for.
Correct.
Not because you're not the best fit for the role, but because there are easier people to work with who can do a comparable job to the one that you do. So that is the big recommendation that I have to all the younger generation, is understand that everything you say and everything you do carries with it a certain level of risk. And if you're aware of it and you're like, I still want to do this, great, that's your choice. But it's making those decisions uneducated and then being surprised by the repercussions that I'm afraid of. So the last one is definitely like, understand the point of your career and the point of your branding and your marketing, and just understand your risk factor and make sure that what you're about to do or say, that you're comfortable with what could happen as a result of it.
Now, you did say you don't like about the NFTs earlier.
Oh, NFTs?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I've been super vocal about my hatred of NFTs. Like, I just found out earlier today that, like, the person who, when I mentioned, like, how I found the person performing in a studio booth, and that's what inspired, the person in that booth that inspired me just declared their support for NFTs today. And I'm like, damn it. Well, there goes there goes the person. But it's almost kind of like, at this point, it's like a vengeful, righteous fury, where it's like, now's my chance to not only match them, but be better than them, you know? Like, if you're not going to be my hero, then I will be the hero that people wanted to be, or wanted you to be for me or for them. But it's one of those cases where I understand that there may be colleagues that do support NFTs. There may be companies that do support NFTs that don't want to work with me because I support it. Like, I'll be honest with this because I got blocked by her. I'm on Tara Strong's hit list. No, I'm serious. I straight up replied to one of her comments and I said, I'm really upset with you. Like, please don't. This is so unprofessional. And at like 2 days after I made that post, after she'd already responded to a couple others, she just went up and blocked me. So I already know that I'm turning some heads in the negative light. But
I'm against NFTs myself too as well. Like, I never got into the whole reason behind it. Like you said, it's like, what's the point of it?
Right. But so I understand that it could cost me, but in this case, it's something where I understand the risk and I say, to me, I feel like it's important to let my audience know that I'm not interested in it. Now, do I think it's more valuable? I do. I see that people hate NFTs. I see that they speak out against them, and I think it will work in my favor to let my fans and my audience know I have no interest in this. I'm not going to contribute to this. But it's still a choice that I need to make. So I would rather, if someone is going to say, I support NFTs, well, if you're going to do that, make sure that you understand what you're signing yourself up for. So, yeah.
Last thing, anything that you want to promote or say?
Black creators, BIPOC creators, queer creators. I think that although the industry has been getting better at being inclusive of those, and specifically in voice acting, we used to have a huge problem with white actors getting cast for BIPOC roles, but BIPOC actors were not getting the chance to even read for white roles. They just weren't even getting the auditions. I do think the industry has been better about that, but I still think there is a problem with celebrity spotlighting where they find like that 1 or 2 or 3 black actors who they can just use over and over and over and over again, and then they just kind of shove everyone else to the side and say, look, we have representation. And I think that we can be better about that. I think we need to lift those voices up, and we need to let people with different life experiences and life angles share their stories with us. And it's getting better. I've seen casting calls where they say we are specifically aiming to cast a black, trans, non-binary actor for this role. But it's better, but it's still not enough. Yeah. So please, if you know friends who are trying to get into the industry, if you have a colleague who's black or gay or identifies as something other than middle-aged white male Caucasian, white and Caucasian are the same thing, please do your best to support them, because I really feel like this is an industry where looks don't have to matter, and they shouldn't matter in the first place, but especially in voice acting, the focus should be on the voice, but also we need to make sure that these characters are being represented by people who actually share their qualities, share their struggles, share their experiences. I don't want a white actor pretending to be a black actor who's had to live on the streets and has had to work their way up to be respected by others and pretend like that's something that they actually understand.
Yeah.
So that's just my thoughts.
Well, thanks so much for the interview. It was nice. We have to find something for a giveaway, at least for fans.
Mm-hmm.
So we can work on that, a giveaway for them.
Okay.
You're here for 2 more days, hopefully, if it doesn't snow.
That's true. Okay, you said if it doesn't snow,
Okay.
and no, what I heard was if it doesn't smell, and I was like, conch is a real thing. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh, lordy.
Yes.
That's what the mask is for.
Yes. But no, I did an interview with Greg Chris like years ago. The same period right now. It was supposed to snow that weekend, but it didn't snow. So I'm hoping it's gonna be
Have
the
you
same.
ever considered that you might be the rain dancer who's causing the snow to happen by hosting interviews?
That hurts. that hurts. I'm gonna go cry now. Oh God, it hurts real bad. Okay, but it didn't snow though.
Okay.
It didn't snow.
Okay.
So I'm hope that I had the same luck.
Okay.
But this time it don't snow.
Sounds good.
So you'll be here at least until.
To my knowledge, I might be here longer than I thought because they delayed my flight on Sunday, so I might not even be getting home until like 11 in the evening.
Well, there's a lot to check out while you're down here, though, Lee.
Yeah, for sure. I've had like 4 chicken sandwiches already. They're fantastic. I'm going to have to get a chicken sub next time, or a chicken hamburger, or a chicken calzone.
Yes, chicken is getting expensive, though. All right. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much for your time. This was fun. I really appreciate
It
it.
is fun, you know. I know it's been a long day for you, so. Thank
Yeah. You know what? Like I said, I'm the activity shark, you know? As long as I'm going, I'm going. When I'm tired, I'll go to bed, I'll lay down. There won't be any delay between me resting my head and falling asleep. It's instantaneous.
All right.
You know, yeah, no problem.
Thanks for watching, everybody. You're going to work on that giveaway for y'all, so thank you very much.
Take care.